Affinity Photo 2 is a powerful image editing software that lets you draw and paint your character ideas to life. We'll be using it to create some cute, stylized characters that all fit within a science lab theme. We got scientists, a technician, and a monkey in some kind of astronaut test suit. I'll take you step by step from rough sketch to final presentation. In order to help you focus on designing characters and using various Affinity Photo features, we're going with the cartoony style that doesn't require accurate anatomy. You need a pen tablet as well as any version of Affinity Photo in order to follow along. Photoshop or similar software is fine too. After this class, you'll be able to design, sketch, draw, paint, and present your characters to others for feedback or 3D production. Don't let your character ideas just sit in your head. Instead, learn to bring them out on the screen today. Hi, welcome to the character concept art course. We are inside of Affinity Photo 2. Feel free to use any other image editing program of your choice, such as Photoshop, as long as it's compatible with a Wacom tablet or any other pen tablet of your choice. Over here we have a list of steps that we're going to go through to generate these character concepts. First, we need a design prompt to know what we're concepting. And before we draw anything, I like to spend at least a couple minutes doing warm-up sketches. It really doesn't matter what you're drawing, just as long as you're putting pen to paper, or in this case, pen tablet to the tablet surface, and getting your drawing muscles ready to actually start drawing. And then we're going to knock out a handful of characters, sort of like an ensemble cast of characters that belong in the same world, the same story. We'll transition from loose sketches to more refined but still rough sketches, and then from there we'll clean it up into final line art. With that, we'll move on to filling it in and masking out parts of the art where we can separate colors and materials, which will make it a lot easier to start coloring. So after that, we block in colors, we do a shadow pass, and we add some realism to what would be up to this point just a flat shaded character. And then we double down on that realism by adding some textures to indicate what kind of material, let's say, certain outfits are made of. And then we're gonna do another final polish pass to have our concepts ready for final presentation. That's just a quick summary of what to look forward to in the rest of the course. So with that, let's get started with the first step, the design prompt. For this exercise, let's decide on a group of people who work in a laboratory. We have 4 characters. A couple of them are scientists. One of them is a technician, and the last one is a trained monkey, maybe a chimpanzee. So now we have an idea of a cast of characters that generally belong in the same place, in the same work environment. We also need to decide on a style. For this exercise, I want to go with a very cartoony, stylized, very simple form of character design. So let's go ahead with a new layer selected and a brush selected, and we'll just go with a basic default brush like so. The sort of proportions that I have in mind for these characters are, a round shape for the head, and another round shape for the torso, and a pair of arms coming out to the side, and then no legs, so they're just glide over the floor. It's implied that they have legs. It's implied that they're walking across the floor. So this is the kind of style that would spare us from having to spend too much time and effort on getting the anatomy right. This will allow us to focus more on what kind of characters these are, and what kind of story we want to tell with these characters. So imagine one of the characters can be like this. Maybe another character is a little taller, a little skinnier, but still retaining the same general shape. Right, so two of these guys are our scientists, one of them's our technician. And finally, over to our right, let's do sketch, a proportional sketch of what the monkey might look like. So I imagine big ears, a pair of nostrils, and mouth, like so. Okay, so let's say this is our technician. He's probably wearing some sort of protective clothing. It may be an overall or a coverall, actually. Right, and it's going to have a utility pocket, long sleeve, probably. And maybe he's got short hair. Give him a pair of eyes, a nose. Okay, and I know this is cliched, but I think I want to give one of our scientists a pair of glasses. And then of course, it's definitely going to wear sort of a lab coat. Right, and we have our final scientist here. Let's give him a mustache, and he'll also get a lab coat. Okay, so this is very rough, but now we have a decent idea on who our characters are and what they're wearing, what they look like. So going back to the steps, we went through the design prompt, and even though we actually skipped the warm-up exercises, let's just lump it in with the character sketches that we just did, since they're very loose. Just to go into the warm-up exercise for a second, it could be as simple as, you know, drawing a can, drawing a box, drawing a mug, a beach volleyball, or a tree. Really, any random thing that comes to mind. You're just going to do this until you cover most of your page. Don't get carried away and spend like half an hour on it, but at least a couple minutes, and then you'll be good to do the work for your actual concept art. If you're feeling like your hands are a little stiff and you just want to get into the groove of drawing, that's a great way to make that happen. So with the first 3 steps out of the way, we can move into rough sketches. We're going to take it to the next stage where they're still rough, but not as rough. So let's just center this, bring the opacity way down, add a layer on top, and to help us keep track of which layer is which, let's say this is the initial sketch, and we'll call this layer the rough sketch. Okay, and let's lock this layer so we don't accidentally draw into it. I can bring this layer into the course steps folder, so that's out of the way, and make sure you select our new rough sketch layer, and that's gonna be where we draw our rough sketches. So starting with the first scientist on the left, we can zoom in a bit. I want to decrease the opacity on this bottom layer here so it's even more faint. We're going to bring it down until it's very light, but I can still see it there. So back to selecting the rough sketch layer, I'm going to now trace over our initial sketch but with steadier strokes. And actually I want to switch my brush too, because the basic default one's pretty harsh, and I'm thinking maybe a marker would be good. So let's decrease the size, test it out. Yeah, I'm liking this a lot. Depending on which Wacom tablet you have, this might be different for you, but most of them have a dial on the tablet somewhere, and I have it set up so that when I sort of run my fingers across it in a circular motion, it can increase and decrease my brush size. I like to use that feature on my tablet. It's very handy for resizing my brush on the fly. So anyway, back to our first scientist. I'm going to go over the sketch with a steadier stroke. But at this stage, I'm not trying to make it perfect just yet. So if it's not perfect, don't labor over it too much. So I just hit the hotkey for erase and then the hotkey for brush. The hotkeys tend to be pretty similar across the different image editing software. I believe it's E for both Affinity and Photoshop to select the erase tool, and then B again to select the brush tool. Okay, moving on from the head, I'm going to start attacking the torso. Now, if you like, this would be a good spot to look up reference images of lab coats. I'm just sort of drawing this off the top of my head, but if you have trouble recalling some of the smaller details, like does it have pockets in the front, does it have chest pocket, how many buttons are there, where are they, how big or long are these collars, that's definitely handy to look up. I think I have a pretty decent idea of what it's supposed to look like, so I'm just improvising here. For the hands, I'm just gonna make them sort of a round ball, right? Again, we're going for a style where we're not forced to worry too much about anatomy. So the hands, we're not worrying about adding fingers or joints. Okay, finally, I'm going to draw in the bottom of the character here. Again, it's just a round bottom where legs are implied but not seen. And this is probably just some, whatever pair of trousers the scientist is wearing. And maybe underneath the lab coat, he's wearing some kind of turtleneck or some undershirt. Okay, so that's scientist 1. For scientist 2, since they're both scientists, I think we can get away with copying and pasting the lab coat outfit. Oops. Let me try that again. Okay, so I'm copying and pasting over to the right, and to match the overall shape we established in the sketching phase, I'm gonna stretch it up, scrunch it sideways, and yeah, that just leaves us with drawing the head. Okay, so any opportunities like that you can find to save work, definitely take it. It would have felt pretty silly doing the work, all the work of redrawing the lab coat, only to realize, oh, it's basically the same as the first one. All right, so let's see. Pair of very thick frame glasses for this guy. Okay, and this time he just has normal hair. You know, not particularly stylish, just a very average hairstyle. Okay, so maybe I'll add a goatee for a little extra character. Okay, moving on to our technician. So since the first character is kind of wide set, second character is tall, our third human character can just be the average of both. Okay, so let's give him a kind of a short haircut. I'm not set on the face, but I'm gonna put a pin on it and move on to the body for now. I'm thinking he's wearing coveralls with a lot of pockets, a lot of utility pockets. Right, so this will go down to about there. We'll have pockets here. A seam kind of running through the middle of the waist. Definitely a front pocket. And a zipper running all the way down the front. Okay, so the thing I wasn't happy about was the hairstyle. I'm not sure what's going on here. Let's see. Maybe it's pretty similar to this second scientist. Maybe it's split in the middle. And let's see what happens if we give him a 5 o'clock shadow or a beard. Yeah, I think the thing I didn't like before was just how childlike the face was. It was too baby faced. But yeah, that beard or dark 5 o'clock shadow is making him look like an adult again. So I think that works. And the hair, the slightly longer hair that's kind of split in the middle, I think that's working pretty well too. So let's move on to our fourth and final character in this ensemble cast. It's going to be the monkey. So let's see. So far we've been keeping separate layers for each of the characters, so I'm going to continue that with the monkey. So the monkey's, it's a couple of traits that give away the fact that this is a monkey right away. The wide mouth and the nostrils, I think, are the key features here, and the big ears. right? Any one of those combinations, if they're off, this character just could appear like a different animal altogether. For the body, I'm wondering if we shouldn't fit him with some kind of test suit or an outfit rather than being a natural naked monkey. I'm thinking of, chimps that have been sent to space. A space outfit type of deal could be cool for this character. So let's go ahead and draw in the rough outline of this monkey character. You can start from the neck area, give him a nice metal collar of some kind. From here, we're just going to improvise some sci-fi shapes. Maybe he's wearing a full sleeve suit. There's probably some type of apparatus or a monitoring device on the chest with some wires hanging out. And maybe there's some kind of a strap that's holding that device in place. Over the shoulder and around the rib cage. All right, and then again at the bottom, we're going to imply that there's some sort of trouser type of deal. Okay, let me group these together into the rough sketch folder. Yeah, so that will bring us to cleaning up the rough sketches, turning them into clean line art. Okay, let's bring our drawings back up. Going to do a copy of this folder. We'll rename it Final Line Art. And I'm going to group everything into its own folder. Call it reference. Dial down the opacity. And then we're going to do something similar to what we did before, which is trace over the previous drawing. So you'll notice that this time around, I'll do a lot more undos. I got my fingers trained over the Control Z button so that I can instantly undo any stroke. This may be a little challenging at first, but with a little practice, you can get the hang of this. Try not to grip your pen too hard. That's gonna cramp up your hands. And the trick is to just redo your strokes over and over again until it looks nice. And it's okay to overshoot a little and erase the excess stroke. Oops. This is also where I'm going to pay more attention to line weight, which is just the idea of thickening your strokes or lightening it depending on which line you're drawing. So if there's a line that indicates that something's overlapping, like the way this flap of the lab coat is, you want to make that a little darker, and then the lines that go around the outline of the overall object, that one you'll want to make thick as well, kind of like how I have it over on this shoulder. Hence the name line weight. You're giving different weight to different lines. Some angles are easier than others to draw smoothly. Almost there with this scientist. I want to make the line weight for this collar a bit light, because it's just a pattern in the shape of the inside sweater. Okay, looking back, I noticed this line should be darkened. Same with this line. Okay, and if we turn off the reference layer and just look at it by itself, it's looking pretty good. This way you can also clearly see what's in the actual final line art layer and what you're seeing from the previous one. Happy to move on to the second character. Let's take the body. In fact, let me change this mode to the squiggly line and not the magnetic one. And I'll just go ahead and take the bottom of the head there too. Move it over and resize it. I want to emphasize again, let's say you took a break between drawing sessions and you're picking up where you left off. It's always good to warm up with some drawing exercises before you start. So if you're struggling to get these smooth strokes, it could just be because your hands are a bit stiff and they need to be loosened up. Makes a big difference in how you draw. Also try and catch yourself if you notice you're gripping your pen too hard. If you're trying to draw for hours, make it very difficult. But if you just draw in a more relaxed way, you won't feel as tired out from drawing. Okay, and let's check how it looks without the reference layer. Trying to clean up the lines inside the glasses here. Let's add a little more line weight to the noses. And that'll do it for the second scientist.